What's going on, my YouTube family? I'm Rusty with the Kings of Coffee, and I'm excited to tell you that today we're launching our channel. The Kings of Coffee are myself, JR, Vern, and Johnny. We've been waiting for this moment for a long time. We're really glad you guys are here to help us launch the channel. We're going to start off with an interview with the owner of a local coffee shop here in Herndon, Virginia called Weird Brothers. Come on with me, let's go inside. After you. What's up, everybody? It's Vern here with Kings of Coffee. I want to welcome you to another episode. We are on location at Weird Brothers Coffee in Herndon, Virginia, just down the street from Mercer Town Center. We're sitting down with Mr. Paul Olsen, I know his name, from Weird Brothers Coffee, in his lovely shop. We're going to talk to him today a little bit about how his business got started. He started one of the first and only roasteries in Herndon, Virginia, surprisingly. And then we'll get a little bit into like why fresh coffee is better and why more of you should come out and start visiting local shops like this and experiencing fresh coffee, and at the end maybe get a couple tips from a coffee professional on how to improve the quality of your home brew. So Paul, to get started, if you just want to tell us a little bit about Weird Brothers and how all this got started, how you got to the business.
Absolutely. Well, Weird Brothers Coffee was a brainchild of my brother and I. We decided that this area did not have enough local, good, fresh, crafted coffee,
Right.
And there was a void there that we needed to fill, and so we just went for it and decided to start roasting coffee, start that going. And as we started roasting coffee, we also started out with a mobile coffee bar.
Right.
We had a cool little truck that bounced around the Northern Virginia Dulles Corridor area, and that's how we started, slinging coffee to the locals. Started selling our coffee online as well.
Right.
And then the natural progression of things was to, open up a shop, have a nice brick and mortar where people could come to us and enjoy the awesomeness.
Cool. So, I mean, now you had a normal job before all this started, before you guys went in. Did you ever reach a point where you thought like, what did I get into? Were you had serious doubts or anything like that, or has it just been full steam ahead the whole time?
I mean, honestly, it has been just full steams ahead.
Okay.
I mean, it's just been balls to the wall, going from 0 to 60 in like 5 seconds. I mean, obviously there are fears there. There's things you worry about opening up a business. It's not easy, especially a small business. We put everything into this. This is all our thing. We didn't, have a whole bunch of other financing or anything like that. So this is a family business. So we put all our eggs into this basket. We're going forward. We all support each other and push each other along.
Oh, that's awesome. So I know on your website you talk about a visit to Ethiopia. Can you talk about how that trip changed your perception of what coffee can be, and did it have an effect on inspiring you to open this shop at all?
Absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. So I was in the Army, and I was on a deployment to East Africa, and as part of that deployment, I had the awesome opportunity to travel around,
right,
and talk to a lot of the local people and kind of check out some of the off the beaten path things.
right.
And one of the greatest parts of that trip was when I was in Ethiopia, was that I got a chance to see coffee farms and talk to people that actually work the farms.
Cultivate coffee.
Absolutely. And Ethiopia being not only the birthplace of man, is also the birthplace of coffee.
Right.
And so that was just a really special moment in my life to really see how they were doing things. And a lot of the way they were doing things has been the way they've been doing it for thousands of years.
Right.
And it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that mass production of coffee began.
Right.
And then within 20-30 years, the only place people found coffee was in a can.
In layman's terms, can you sort of break down for the viewer, for the average customer, on what the difference is between a bag of Weird Brothers coffee roasted yesterday versus something that's been sitting on a shelf for 5-6 months?
Absolutely. Well, most people do not realize how perishable coffee is.
Right.
I liken the perishability of coffee to bread or pastry products.
Right.
Once coffee is roasted, and if it is not sealed properly in a sealed airtight bag, it does not last very long. And so, roasted beans, unground, probably last you a week or two, still being fairly fresh.
Right.
But then once they're ground and they're not sealed up airtight, 3-4 days and they're turning to sawdust. I mean, it really is. It takes away the freshness. The oils are drying up.
Right.
All of the things that make coffee flavorful and wonderful start degrading and going away. The rancidness kicks in, and then after several weeks to a month, you're not drinking coffee anymore. You're drinking yuckiness.
Right. So people understand that there's a spectrum of quality for virtually everything else they consume. Why do you think it is, or what is the disconnect between coffee and the consumer, where they just assume that anything I'm getting, is just like what I'm getting from, the supermarket or the gas station is the same thing that you're producing?
Sure. But Americans in general, I think they have been trained, classically trained in a way. To see coffee as just a commodity that's on the shelf,
right?
Just like anything else at the grocery store, and so they're used to getting whatever they get at the store,
right?
And a lot of people haven't really learned to enjoy some of the incredible flavor nuances that you can get out of different coffees and fresh roasted coffees.
Right.
So they're just going for their cup of caffeine in the morning. Obviously.
Wherever they get it from.
Yeah, obviously lots and lots of people drink coffee. Coffee is the second highest traded commodity in the world, next to oil.
Right.
The majority of people are drinking coffee that isn't super fresh. It's been on the supermarket shelf. It's convenient.
Right.
And then along with that, comes the other convenient things like obviously the gas stations and
Right.
7-Elevens. And then, we now have the Keurig, the K-Cups, the Flavia machines. And, people are getting a caffeinated coffee-flavored beverage, but it's not.
That's a good way to put it.
It truly isn't, a good, fresh cup of coffee.
Right.
And so, that is one of the things that we are really trying to do is bring more awareness and understanding to people and show them what the difference is between a good, fresh cup of coffee. And not only just a good fresh cup of coffee, but the nuances between different types of coffees,
Right.
different origins of coffees, different roasts of coffees. There are so many different variables out there. It's almost mind-boggling.
I guess local shops like yours, other local roasteries in the area, they have a task, which is to sort of steer people away from this perception that fresh roast coffee is fussy or pretentious.
Right.
Like how do your shop has we're going to show some B-roll of the shop. It's a very chill vibe. Like how do you think we get people past this idea that like, if it's not quick and ready available, it's pretentious or fussy or something like that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a big part of our business model as well.
Okay.
Bringing people in and letting them experience all of the wonderful nuances of coffee without being pretentious about it. Because there are places that do this. They bring people in and they kind of turn the average person off because they're so into and excited about the specialness of what they're doing that they make it seem unattainable. It's almost like, are you good enough for this?
Right.
We are trying to be the complete opposite. Bring people in and say, hey, these are all the wonderful different things that we have to offer. These are all the different ways you can enjoy it.
Right.
But guess what? If you still want to put some milk and sugar in it or do whatever you want to it, go for it.
Right.
You know what you like. That's cool. But I guarantee you'll probably put less stuff in it once you start drinking it more often.
One of the things I'm going to try to preach to people is go to a local roastery, get your coffee however you like it. Before you put your cream and sugar in it, just taste it black.
Absolutely.
Just take a sip black.
Exactly. That's exactly what we do.
Right.
We say, hey, check it out first, because a lot of people immediately ask for cream and sugar, and we say, yeah, we got cream and sugar over there, but you know what? Why don't you taste it first? Because you may not have to put as much in there as before.
Right.
And lo and behold, that's what most people say.
That's awesome.
It's a lot like our nitro cold brew.
Right.
one of the awesome things about the nitro cold brew, because of the nitrogen bubbles, it gives it that creamy mouthfeel in effect.
Right.
So many people out there that usually take lots of cream and sugar are like, oh my God, I don't have to put anything in this.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So that was actually one of the questions I wanted to talk about, like the nitro cold brew, at Weird Brothers Coffee. It's very popular. I myself can tell you, I'm not generally a fan of cold brew coffee because it kind of tastes flat and water. And so when I was here shooting B-roll yesterday, I had some, and it was awesome, and I didn't understand why. But without giving away your secret, what is it that makes it so awesome? It's the nitrogen bubbles, I'm guessing.
Number one, you have to start with great water. Not just good water, but great water.
Okay.
And we have an incredible water filtration system.
Okay.
So our water is up to snuff for just about anything.
Okay.
Great beans,
Right.
you have a good roast, fresh beans, the filtration process,
Right.
and the brewing method. You put all those together, and that's one of the things that kind of sets our cold brew apart. The method that we use by using the great water, the fresh roasted beans, and grinding them literally minutes before we put the water into them.
Okay.
And we really try very hard to use to keep those brewing coffee grounds in the water away from water or air as much as possible. We try and get the oxygen out, because oxygen is the greatest killer of any food.
Okay.
Honestly, if you have a good understanding of food, oxygen is the flavor killer. So we put our grounds into a good size filter bag,
Right.
and we try and get as much of that oxygen and air out as possible. Right, and then it steeps for 24 hours, and because of the filter bag, we don't have to do an additional filtration process.
Okay.
So it just goes straight into our kegs. We keg it up and serve it, and I think that's probably one of the reasons that sets it apart from other cold brews.
Cold brews, if you haven't tried it, if you're in the area, please come out and try it. It actually is good, even if you normally like it warm.
Sure.
Do you remember the first time you had really good coffee?
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, I grew up drinking pretty good coffee, being from from California.
Okay.
Way more common out on the West Coast, than here for local coffee places to roast their own coffee.
Right.
So
So you were more familiar with.
absolutely. Okay. So it was much more common, to get a freshly roasted cup of coffee at a local coffee place. I didn't like going out to chain coffee shops because to me it wasn't good. Absolutely. Right. Finally, I said, all right, I'm going to start roasting my own coffee.
Okay.
And as soon as I started actually roasting my own coffee, and once I got it down, to where I could was getting a really great cup of coffee out of it, I was like, there's no going back. This is it. It takes time to figure it out because I mean, honestly, I'm completely self-taught, 100% self-taught. I've, haven't taken any classes. I didn't go to any school. No, didn't have any mentors. I did trial and error. I did a lot of reading, and then I started working with it at home. And I mean, obviously, the first few batches, you're just like, okay, this didn't work. Okay, all right, maybe I got to try this. Trial and error, and then, but it didn't take long for me to kind of figure out where the coffee needed to be and what I was doing.
Do you feel roasting is more art or more science?
Oh, it's absolutely mostly art.
Really?
Yes. You have to have a good understanding of the foundation of the science of it.
Okay.
But there is way more art involved. In my perspective, a good roaster has to have a really good feel for all of his or her senses.
Okay.
I mean, because you're roasting when you are roasting, you're using sight, you're using smell,
Right.
you're using your ears, you're feeling, you're touching, you're doing everything. All of those little things are all part of the process. Okay. And if you're not paying attention to one or two of those aspects, you may not get it right.
Okay. All right. So, moving to the third part of the show, we like to tell, your future customers and our viewers, they come into Weird Brothers, they buy a fresh bag of this great coffee, they take it home, they're ready to go. what are some common mistakes they can avoid, screwing up their newly minted bag of fresh beans, some things they can do to make their home brew better.
Absolutely. Well, the number one thing we always tell people is get a good grinder.
Okay.
Everybody should have a good grinder for themselves. And obviously, the best grinder to have at home is a brewer grinder.
Okay.
Some people will try to grind coffee with a chop grinder, and you can get it done, but you're never going to get a consistent grind.
Right.
So that's number one. Grinding right before you brew.
Okay.
But if you for some reason you don't have a grinder at home and you do need to have it ground, we'll grind it for you.
Okay.
But just make sure you know what exactly you're using to brew it with, and you're using that grind of coffee for that specific brew.
Probably want to maybe consume it within a week or
Absolutely,
like that.
absolutely. Once a 12-ounce bag is ground, you should be drinking it within a week.
Right.
Because once it gets past that point, it's not going to be right.
All the flavors go.
And you could probably extend the life a little bit if you're storing it properly.
Right.
You have it in a cool, dry place, vacuum sealed, keeping that oxygen away. Just like I said before, oxygen is the great killer of freshness and taste and just about anything.
Awesome. All right. So a lot of people asked, or maybe somebody asked yesterday while I was in here, how'd you get the name? How'd you guys come up with the name?
Well, my brother and I always just marched to the beat of our own drummer.
Okay.
So it's just it just fit. Whatever we did, our senses of humor, the people we met,
Right.
the experiences we had. It was always a little weird.
A little offbeat.
Exactly. So Weird Brothers just fit.
Nothing wrong with that. Coming here, there's a big Joffrey the giraffe in here with a t-shirt on. I'll get some shots of that. It's pretty interesting. You said it was here when you moved in, right?
Yeah. Jeffrey was here.
Yeah.
This was actually a tile shop when we moved in,
Okay.
and the previous owner had a bunch of kind of strange things, and that was the coolest thing that we thought needed to stay because he just seemed like exactly the mascot of the place.
Jeffrey, not Joffrey. I made him from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
All right, so last but not least, we've been on the website. I've seen that your coffee is available in a lot of stores in Northern Virginia. Tell our viewers, tell your future customers how they can get in touch with you, how they can buy some of your coffee direct. Do you sell online?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we sell online on our website. It's www.weirdbrothers.com.
Weirdbrothers.com.
Pretty simple.
Right.
Also, our coffee is available here at the shop at 321 Sunset Park Drive, Herndon, Virginia.
Right.
Right now we don't distribute to very many places, just a couple of little local shops.
Okay.
Great Harvest Bread in Herndon carries our coffee. The Wine Cabinet in Reston sells our coffee beans as well. But the best place to come is here because not only is it going to, are we going to have all the different varieties usually at all times, but we'll be here, to talk to you, give you a little more detail about each type of origin or roast and what you're getting, talk to you about brewing.
You can participate in the experience.
Absolutely.
Get to meet the cool owner, get to see the cool shop, get to see Jeffrey. So folks, if you are I know for a fact there are a lot of conferences in this area, a lot of training and things like that. If you're in Herndon, if you're in the Dulles Corridor, Reston, Chantilly, make the trip down to Weird Brothers Coffee. Your taste buds will thank you. It's not out of the way. We know there's dozens of chain coffee places around here. So just as easily as you can go to one of them, you could make the turn to come here and taste some really fresh coffee. Try the Nitro Cold Brew. It is absolutely excellent. We're going to put links to Weird Brothers Coffee in the description below, so you can go order some of their coffee or check out their website to see where they're distributed, because there are a few other places I think listed on the website where you can go if you want to get it. But if you can come here and make it in here to talk to Mr. Olsen and catch the ambiance of the shop, get some fresh coffee, you would absolutely be served to do so. So, Paul, I want to thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vern.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being the inaugural show. This is our first show. We're excited to launch. So as Rusty will have told you in the intro. So until next time, guys, we are out.